From roads, energy plants, dams, and schools to houses, hospitals, telecommunication infrastructure, and SMEs. These are just some areas that benefit from development finance. The University of Stellenbosch Business School offers a cluster of development finance programs aimed at Africa's growth needs.
Development finance is important for filling in some of the growth gaps which are in Africa and in the developing world. Some of these gaps are the savings gap that we have, the infrastructure gap, the financial inclusion, or if you like, financial exclusion gap that we have. And some of these gaps need innovative development finance policies to be able to finance, to reduce the gap.
I was particularly interested in policy and regulation in finance. And this course just brought everything together and gave me that framework that I could work with.
I wanted to do something that would help me move my career into something that would have an impact on communities, especially in terms of empowering the poor and the needy, and also something that would help me address the infrastructure gap on the continent.
You may have innovative ideas, you may have very good projects, but the important part is also to put the finance part to that. And to me, this master's actually did both of that. It looks at development issues, but it also gives you a direction in terms of how do you connect the financial aspects to development.
All the development finance programs are internationally accredited by the AACSB and EQUIS.
We started first with the MPhil program. We had to make plans for creating a program which would feed in for the junior level to mid-level managers who cannot make it on the MPhil program, hence the postgraduate diploma. Then we also realized that there's a vast need for research, high-level research in the development finance area, and research which is also rigorous and which shapes the academic thinking of development finance, hence the PhD.
Together, these programs provide a structured approach towards the sustainable economic development of the African continent, although this know-how can also be applied in other emerging countries. The programs are presented in modular format, which means students attend blocks of classes spread over time.
The modular format of the program actually works very well, especially if you have a full-time job. But one of the things that you have to be cautious about is how do you discipline yourself to actually give the attention to the subjects that you need to do, because there are a number of exams and there are a number of assignments that you have to complete during the time.
There's a lot of things that you can do after hours on your own, and the coursework itself, where you have to be away from work, is limited, and it's structured well so you can negotiate that easily with your employer.
The contents of the development finance programs are aimed at employable expertise in emerging countries, with particular emphasis on Africa.
With a qualification in development finance, you can move into a couple of areas out in the world once you qualify. You can work in a commercial bank, you can work in a development bank, you can work in a microfinance bank. That's one level. You can also work in the development finance institutions, local and international. Again, you can work with the ministries, departments and agencies which are interested in or which roll out development finance and economic development programs. And then lastly, you can also work with international organizations who are interested in development.
The biggest benefit that I've had out of this course was probably the network of people that I've met and the different environments that I've been exposed to during the course in terms of different countries, people being involved in different businesses, and also just really interesting people that you get to talk to.
I thought I knew development finance, but I knew very little. But after this, I've got in-depth knowledge on how to raise the funding that's required to address the development issues in Africa.
There's not one subject that I did here that I cannot use the new knowledge that I've gained in terms of the work that I'm currently doing.
And it has made me alive to the development challenges on the continent.
We're the only institution in Africa currently with 3 programs, full programs in development finance?
I chose Stellenbosch Business School because it's highly ranked, highly regarded business school.
It's the first institution to have started this. We've got the experience, we've got the staff who are dedicated.
The main reason was probably the content of the course. Really interesting topics that it was addressing, and it really fit my interests well.
And we've got programs which are accredited at the top international level, and that's the advantage that you get from studying at the USB.
If you look at business leaders, it's always interesting to have a look at where business leaders and leaders that are truly successful went for their training. And many actually came to this business school. So to me, I'd like to follow in the footsteps of those type of people.
The USB offers the technology and facilities expected from a top-class business school. An on-campus lodge and cafeterias provide comfortable accommodation and meals. The USB has representatives in East Africa and West Africa for the convenience of students from these regions. The campus on the hill. The USB is situated in the Tiger Valley Business District, about halfway between Cape Town and Stellenbosch. The USB is surrounded with world-famous attractions like Table Mountain, Cape Point, Robben Island. The neighbouring Boerland area is known for its cultural heritage, winelands and scenic beauty.
There's a big emphasis on group work, which initially I was not that keen on, but it's been one of the most enriching experiences for me on this course, just to get a sense of exactly what other people on the course are involved in, what they, where they are employed, what the opportunities are on the continent.
There are a number of group assignments that you have to do, often on topics you don't know much about. And what's wonderful about working with your classmates within these groups is that many of them will fill a gap where you have a lack of knowledge on. And together, if you present it to the class and present it as your piece of work, it's an outstanding piece of work. But when you started out, you thought, oh, I know nothing about this. And in the end, you think, well done. And that, in terms of collaboration, is wonderful.
It's lit a fire in me, I think. So I remember thinking after my first block that if only more people could do this, then we'd have maybe a bigger army of people making an impact and understanding the issues and the funding needs, and then maybe more funding would be channeled towards development.
You get majority of the students coming from the rest of Africa, and in the case of the MPhil Development Finance, we are beginning to notice across the world as well. So you have a class which is diverse and which you would not find in most cases out in the world, and the learning experience and the learning environment becomes very rich, and that's something you experience at the USB.